The man accused of hitting and dragging a state police trooper last year has changed his plea. Back in September of 2023, state police attempted to pull over Michael Williams of Greenfield at a rest stop on 91 North in Holyoke. That's when Williams hit and dragged a state trooper while avoiding the traffic stop. The trooper was eventually able to free himself while Williams took off into the woods, leading to an hours-long manhunt. He was eventually caught and arrested, and he initially pleaded not guilty to 7 charges against him. Williams has now changed his pleas to guilty and will be back in court for sentencing in February.